Ready to unlock the power of now. You've dove into Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now.
Yeah,
And we're here to help you extract those golden nuggets of wisdom.
absolutely.
This deep dive is all about turning those honestly pretty dense ideas
Right.
into practical tools for a more peaceful and fulfilling life.
Yeah.
Starting, right now.
Like right now, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's really intriguing about,
Eckhart Tolle's.
I think, is how he takes these ancient spiritual truths and makes them, relevant for our modern lives.
Right.
He's not promising some magical transformation or anything, but rather a shift in perspective that can profoundly change how we experience every single moment,
Totally. And he dives right into this idea that, and I think this is where it gets really interesting, you are not your mind.
Right. Which might sound a little paradoxical at first, but think about it.
Okay.
How often are you caught in that endless loop of thoughts, worries, to-do lists?
Oh, constantly.
Tolle's point is that we become so entangled with that mental chatter that we mistake it for who we truly are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so easy to get swept away by that inner monologue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what if we could step back from that for a second and just observe those thoughts without getting carried away?
Okay.
That's where the power lies.
I like that.
Tolle uses this analogy of a busy city street.
Okay.
Your mind is that constant traffic, but you are the detached observer watching it all unfold without judgment.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So it's about recognizing that we're not our thoughts. We have thoughts.
Yes.
And we have the power to choose which ones we engage with.
Precisely. And by creating that space between ourselves and our thoughts, we discover this incredible freedom,
Okay.
We realize we don't have to believe every thought that pops up.
Right.
Or get caught in those negative spirals.
Right. That's huge.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, sometimes our thoughts are downright brutal. Oh, yeah.
But Tolle isn't saying to suppress those thoughts or pretend to be positive all the time.
Absolutely not.
Right.
It's about awareness.
Okay.
It's about noticing those thoughts, acknowledging them for what they are, just thoughts.
Yeah.
And letting them pass without judgment.
Like watching them float by almost.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like we're learning to relate to our minds in a whole new way. Less reactive, more responsive.
Exactly. And that shift, my friend,
Yeah.
is where we start to unlock the power of now.
And I speak of the power of now, that's like the core of Tolle's message, right?
Absolutely.
Being present in this very moment, which honestly can feel impossible sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's something we can all relate to, right?
Yeah.
Our minds are constantly pulled to the past,
right?
Rehashing old hurts or, clinging to memories or catapulted into the future.
Yes.
Worrying about what might happen.
It's like our brains are stuck in a time warp.
So how do we break free from that cycle and truly step into the power of now?
Right.
What does that even look like?
Well, Tolle argues that time, as we perceive it, is largely an illusion. We're rarely fully present because we're so caught up in our thoughts about the past and future.
Right.
But he offers some really practical techniques
Okay, good.
to anchor ourselves in the present moment.
Okay.
One of the simplest yet most profound is focusing on your breath.
Focusing on my breath.
Yeah.
That sounds deceptively simple.
It is simple,
Okay.
but don't underestimate its power.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is simple, but don't underestimate its power.
Okay.
The key is to make it a conscious practice.
Okay.
Just take a few moments to notice the sensation of each inhale and exhale.
Okay.
Feel the air moving in and out of your body. It's a way to gently guide your attention back to the present.
Okay.
Whenever you find yourself drifting into thoughts about the past or worries about the future.
It's like hitting the reset button on your mind.
Yes,
But
exactly.
instead of getting lost in that mental clutter, you're bringing yourself back to the immediate experience of just being.
Exactly. And another technique Tolle offers is to engage your senses.
Okay.
What do you see around you right now? Really look, as if for the first time.
Okay.
What do you hear?
Yeah.
Can you feel the texture of your clothes against your skin? By immersing ourselves in our sensory experience, we ground ourselves in the present moment.
It's almost like our senses become anchors, pulling us back into the now. But let's be real, it's not always easy to stay present, is it?
Right.
I mean, life throws curveballs.
Yeah.
We experience setbacks, disappointments,
Right.
those moments where it feels impossible not to get sucked into negative emotions.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And this is where Tolle's concept of the pain body comes into play.
Okay.
He describes it as this accumulation of old emotional pain that we carry around within us.
Okay, the pain body. That sounds a little intense.
It can be, but understanding it can be incredibly liberating.
Okay.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
We all experience difficult emotions.
Yeah.
Sadness, anger,
Right.
fear.
Right.
It's part of being human.
Yeah.
But sometimes, instead of fully processing those emotions, we suppress them,
Right.
push them down, hoping they'll just go away.
And I'm guessing they don't just disappear, do they?
No, they don't. They become trapped within us,
Right.
forming this energetic field of negativity that Tolle calls the pain body.
Okay.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
The pain body doesn't stay dormant.
Right.
It can get reactivated by situations or people that remind us, even subconsciously, of past hurts.
So that explains why we sometimes overreact to things or experience emotions that seem out of proportion to the situation?
Exactly. It's often the pain body being triggered.
Wow.
We might think we're upset about something happening in the present,
right?
But it's really those old wounds resurfacing.
That makes so much sense. So how do we deal with this pain body?
Right.
Do we just have to live with it?
The good news is that we don't.
Okay, good.
Tolle provides tools for recognizing and ultimately healing the pain body.
Okay.
And it starts with awareness.
Awareness. There's that word again. It seems to be a recurring theme in Tolle's teachings.
It's fundamental to his entire philosophy.
Okay.
Because until we become aware of the pain body, we're at its mercy.
Right.
But once we can, observe it.
Yeah.
Notice those painful emotions and bodily sensations as they arise.
Okay.
We create space for healing.
So instead of trying to suppress those feelings or distract ourselves from them, we actually lean into them.
In a way, yes. But with a sense of detachment.
Okay.
We learn to observe them without judgment.
Okay.
Without identifying with them as me or mine.
Right.
And that's incredibly powerful.
It sounds like a process of befriending those difficult emotions rather than fearing them or trying to fight them off.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that they are temporary.
Okay.
Like waves passing through us.
Right.
And just like we wouldn't try to hold on to a wave, we can learn to let go of these painful emotions.
So we're learning to observe our thoughts, be present in the now, and work through those deeper emotional patterns.
Right.
But what about our relationships with others?
Yeah.
How does all of this apply to how we interact with the people in our lives?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one that Tolle explores extensively.
Okay.
In fact, he argues that true spiritual growth isn't something we do in isolation.
Okay.
It unfolds within the context of our relationships.
So it's not just about finding inner peace.
Right.
It's about bringing that peace into our interactions with others.
Precisely. Because when we bring presence and awareness to our relationships, we create the conditions for, deeper connection, greater understanding, and ultimately more fulfilling relationships.
And that's where his concept of conscious relationships comes into play, right?
Exactly. Tolle believes that relationships can be incredible vehicles for growth, but he also acknowledges that they can be a source of, great pain and conflict, especially when we're operating from unconscious patterns.
And I think we've all experienced that in our own lives, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Those moments when we say or do things we later regret, or we find ourselves caught in the same arguments, the same cycles of hurt and misunderstanding.
Absolutely. And those patterns often stem from the ego.
Okay.
Which, thrives on conflict, control, and being right.
So how do we move from those unconscious patterns to more conscious relationships?
It starts with, taking responsibility for our own stuff, our thoughts, our emotions, our reactions.
Okay.
Instead of blaming others or looking for external validation, we turn inward and examine our own patterns.
So self-awareness is key here.
It's essential. Because until we understand our own triggers, our own insecurities, we're going to keep projecting them onto others and creating unnecessary conflict.
That makes so much sense. But it's not always easy to do, is it?
Right.
To really look at ourselves honestly, to acknowledge those parts of ourselves that we might not like or want to admit to. It's definitely not always comfortable.
Right.
But as Tolle says, it's in those moments of discomfort that real growth happens when we're willing to look within without judgment. That's when we start to to understand ourselves and others on a deeper level.
Exactly. And that understanding, that compassion for ourselves and for the people in our lives is essential for creating more conscious relationships.
Okay.
It allows us to move from a place of blame and judgment to a place of acceptance and empathy.
So it's about recognizing that we're all on our own journeys, navigating our own pain bodies, doing the best we can with what we've got.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And when we approach relationships with that understanding, with a willingness to listen deeply and offer compassion, it transforms the entire dynamic.
Okay.
It creates space for healing, for growth, and for deeper connection.
This is all starting to connect now.
Yeah,
we're learning to observe our thoughts, be present in the now, work through those deeper emotional patterns, and bring that awareness into our relationships.
Yeah.
But there's one concept we haven't touched on yet: surrender.
Ah, yes, surrender.
Yeah.
It's a powerful word.
Yeah.
And one that totally emphasizes throughout the power of now.
Right.
But it's often misunderstood.
I can see why when most people hear surrender, they think of like giving up or admitting defeat.
Right.
But Tolle seems to be saying something completely different.
He is. For Tolle, surrender isn't about weakness or resignation.
Okay.
It's about letting go of the need to control everything.
Okay.
To force outcomes, to resist the natural flow of life.
So it's more about acceptance,
Yes.
about making peace with what is rather than constantly fighting against it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we're not in control of everything that happens to us.
Right.
But we are in control of how we respond.
Okay, yeah.
We can choose to meet life's challenges with resistance and struggle.
Yeah.
Or we can choose to surrender to the present moment, trusting that even in the midst of difficulty, there's a deeper intelligence at work.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah.
But it makes me think,
Yeah.
how does surrender differ from just like, giving up?
Right.
If I'm like facing a difficult situation, how do I know if I'm surrendering or just like, avoiding taking action?
That's a great question. And it's one that Tolle addresses directly in the book.
Okay.
He says that true surrender isn't passive. It's not about, sitting back and doing nothing.
Right.
It's about taking action from a place of alignment with the present moment.
Okay.
Rather than from a place of, fear or resistance.
So it's about discerning between actions that are rooted in fear.
Yes.
Trying to control the situation, force a specific outcome,
Right.
and actions that are aligned with a deeper sense of trust and acceptance.
Exactly. And that discernment,
Yeah.
that ability to act from a place of presence and alignment is what Tolle calls enlightened action.
Enlightened action. That sounds like a whole other deep dive.
Absolutely.
But for now, I think we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
We've explored the core concepts of Tolle's The Power of Now, from learning to observe our thoughts, to understanding the ego and the pain body, to cultivating more conscious relationships, and ultimately surrendering to the flow of life.
It's a journey, isn't it?
It really is. It's been an incredible journey.
It has. And I think what's so remarkable about Tolle's work is that it's not just a collection of abstract ideas.
Right.
It's a practical guide to living a, more awakened and fulfilling life.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
If you could choose just one of these powerful insights to start practicing today, which one would it be?
Yeah, that's a good question.
How can you bring a little more presence, a little more awareness, a little more surrender into your life, like right now?
I love that.